Hello friends, it's Terry from Uncle Terry's Beginner Guitar. Today we're going to have a little lesson on the capo, otherwise known as the cheater. Now, the capo, as you probably know, is a way to move basically the nut, which is this part of the guitar right here, the end of the guitar neck, up higher on the neck. And there are about at least 3 reasons why you might want to do that. And we'll talk about those. And we're going to talk about how moving the capo up the neck changes the key that you're playing in. All right, so let's just start with probably the most obvious reason to use a capo, and that would be to allow you to play in a key that matches your singing voice range. So let's take a simple song. We've used this example a few times. Let's use the example of Get Along Little Dogies, the old cowboy song played in these cowboy chords. G, C, and D. As I was out walking one morning for pleasure, I spied a young cowboy riding alone. Wow, that's kind of low. See, that's a little low for my vocal range. So let's try moving it up. Let's put it on the 4th fret. Now, when you're using a capo, there's lots of different types of capos. I like this one. This is called a Kaiser because it fits right up here on the head of my guitar, and it's real easy and convenient to just grab it when I need it. So let's put it on the 4th fret. Now, when you're using a capo, you want to make sure that you put your capo down close to the fret that you intend to put it to, and make sure it's pretty much parallel to the fret so that it stays in tune better. And it's always good if you're putting a capo on to take a look at your tuner. Everyone has an electronic tuner these days, and make sure that your guitar is still in tune. But let's say that we were playing Get Along Little Dogies in the key of G, G, C, and D, and that was just a little too low. So let's move it up to the 4th fret, the capo, and let's see if that matches our vocal range better. As I was out walking one morning for pleasure, I spied a cowpuncher riding alone. His hat was pushed back and his spurs was a-jingling, and as he approached, he was singing this song, Whoopie-tie-yi-yo. Oh man, let's say that's a little too high. See that in the chorus it brought the notes up a little high on my vocal range, so let's try the 2nd fret. Let's put it down like that. Whoopie-tie-yi-yo, get along, little dogies, it's your misfortune, none of my own. Okay, so that kind of matches my vocal range a little better. It makes it a little more comfortable to sing. So let's play that song with the capo on the 2nd fret. So that's one of the main reasons to use a capo, is so that while you're singing, you sing in a range that works for you. All right, now let's look at another reason to use a capo. Let's say that you're a flat picking guitarist and you've worked out a nice little flat picking arrangement of a fiddle tune, let's say like Red-Haired Boy. so you get that all down and it sounds really good and you're proud of yourself for that. And then you go to a jam session and the fiddle and the mandolin player say, we don't play that tune in G, we play that tune in A. Every fiddle player plays that in A. You can't play it in G, get your capo. Well, you could just transpose it. If you know how to transpose to a different key, you could play it. But you've already figured out the fingering in the key of G using G chord shapes. And the fiddle player wants to play it in A. So where are we going to put the capo so that we're playing in the key of A to make the fiddle player happy? Well, it's time to go back and look at the intervals along the fretboard that correspond to different notes and different keys. We went through this on an earlier lesson, but let's just review a little bit. Let's do this all on the A string, the 5th string. So remember the guitar has a fretboard, and each fret is a half step on the musical scale. And it takes 12 frets to get a full octave on the guitar. So let's illustrate that on the A string. We've got the open A string, and that is an A. First fret would be A sharp or B flat. Second fret is B. Third fret is C. Fourth fret is C sharp. Fifth fret is D. Sixth fret is D sharp or E flat. Seventh fret is E. 8 is F. There's no such thing as E sharp or B sharp. It goes from E to F. F here on the 8th fret. F sharp on the 9th fret. G on the 10th fret. G sharp or A flat on the 11th fret. And then on the 12th fret, that's our octave up from the open string, and we're back to the A. All right, so we're playing Red-Haired Boy in G. The fiddle player wants to play it in A. So where do we need to put our capo? Well, how many intervals is it up from G to A? It's 2 half steps, so G sharp and then A. So we're going to put that on the 2nd fret. We're going to put our capo down. We're going to make sure it's parallel to the fret. Make sure it's still close to being in tune. So now the fiddle player's happy because we're playing it in the key of A, and that's where he or she always has played Red-Haired Boy. So that's another good use of the capo, to play in the key that your fellow musicians want to play in. Fiddle players like to play in keys like A and D because there's a lot of open strings there. If you're playing with horn players, they might like to play in E flat or A flat, so you can change your capo and play a song with the chord shapes that you like and you're used to in a key that works for them. All right, now there's another reason to use the capo, and that's because you just like the way it sounds. You like the way the guitar sounds on a little bit higher register. So let's say we're going to play a song like Free Fallin'. And we want to play it kind of like Tom Petty, and we want it to sound a little bit different. So if we put our capo on the first fret like Tom Petty did, it gives just a little different sound. It is a half step higher, but it gives a little different voicing. She's a good girl, loves her mama. So it's just a way that you like your guitar to sound. It sounds better, sounds different, with the capo up higher on the neck. So those are three big reasons to use a capo. Match your vocal range, play in the key that the other instruments want to play the tune in, and because you like the way it sounds. Now, let's say that you have worked out a song and it matches your vocal range with the capo way up here on the 5th fret. Let's take a simple song like Blowing in the Wind. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? Say, oh, I like the way that sounds. Fits my vocal range. I like the way it sounds with the capo on the 5th fret. And your bass player says, well, okay, you're playing in G shapes. I know what the shapes look like. I know what a G, a C, and a D look like, but what key are you playing that in? Well, you're not playing it in G. You're using G shapes for the key of G, G, C, and D, the 1, 4, and 5 chord. But you're not playing it in the key of G. What key are you playing that in? Well, that's where we're back to counting and seeing which key we're in. So let's say that we're going to count up the frets from G. So G will be open. G sharp would be if we had the capo on the 2nd fret. A would be if we had the capo, on the 1st fret. A would be a capo on the 2nd fret. B flat would be on the 3rd fret. The next note is B. That'd be on the 4th fret. We have it on the 5th fret, so that's C. So we're playing with G shapes, but that's the key of C. And so you tell your bass player, most bass players are pretty smart, and they know that. They know which key that you're playing in if you have the capo on the 5th fret and you're playing in G. But if they don't, you should be able to tell them that you're playing in C, so that they can follow along with you. If we moved it up, let's say we liked it better way up here on the 7th fret. How many roads must a man walk down? So if we liked it better on the 7th fret, and the bass player asked, we've moved it up 2 frets from the 5th fret. The 5th fret we were playing in the key of C. What are we playing in now? Well, the next note up from the 5th fret would be C sharp, and then the one after that would be D. So we're playing in the key of D using G shapes. Let's say you forgot your capo, and let's say you're playing with someone and they're playing Blowing in the Wind with the capo on the 5th fret, and they're using G shapes, and you know now that they're playing in the key of C. key of C, but you don't have your capo. So you can play in the key of C without the capo, and you need to be able to transpose that kind of on the fly. And as you play more and more, you'll get better at transposing on the fly. But they're playing it in the key of, they're playing it with G shapes with the capo on the 5th fret. And you know that the key of G has C as the 4 chord and D as the 5 chord, right? G, A, B, C. C is 4, D is 5. So 1, 4, 5, you know, the main 3 chords in any key. Starting with the root, which is G, and you see they're playing in G to start. How many roads? Now they went to C, and that's the 4 chord, right? In the key of G. Walk down before you call him a man. Now they went to D, and that's the 5 chord. So you know they're playing in the key of C because they've got the capo on the 5th fret, and they're using G shapes. And that's the key of C. And you don't have your capo. So you know that the 4 chord for the key of C is F. C, D, E, F. 4 is F. 5 is G. So you're watching them. They've got their capo on the 5th fret, and they start out with a root chord. It looks like G, but it's really C, and so you're following along, and you're playing the C with them. How many roads? And they go to the C, but you know that that is F if you're playing it open without the capo, because the 4 chord of the key of C is F. And then they go back to the 1, 4, you call him a man. And when they play the D, that's the 5 chord, and so you play the 5 chord for the key of C, which is G. So that's how it works with the capo, the good old cheater. It's a great little tool, helps you play in a key that you can sing. It helps you accommodate other instruments that want to play in a different key. And it gives you a different voicing on the guitar that might sound better. So that's just a little bit about the capo. I hope that's helpful. So have a great day. Keep playing. Keep picking those guitars, and take care. See you next time.